Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 podcast. Apologies, we are late. It's all down to Grizz. You know this because I've told you already, but I just thought I'd reaffirm that Grizz was celebrating Bayern Munich's win in the Champions League. He was texting Coutinho to congratulate him, and he was texting Thiago to say welcome to Liverpool. So listen, we let him away with that 7 minutes that
He's
he
not
was
even
late.
joking, look. He's not even joking.
I didn't even bring cans tonight. I'm just going to go canless tonight. But with me, I have Keith, I have the aforementioned Grizz, and I have got Chris Brack. And we're going to talk about loads tonight. Liverpool are back in pre-season. They've won their first pre-season game. There's a couple of injuries. There's a couple of players that are impressed. There's a couple of players that you're wondering, has their situation changed? And of course, we have some transfer talk as well at some stage. It'll creep in. As much as we'll try to stay away from it, it will creep in. That's just the way it works. Starting off though, Liverpool are in pre-season training. They played their first game against Stuttgart yesterday in horrendous conditions, it has to be said, and come out with a 3-0 victory. Keith, I'm going to come to you first. Just overall, to see Liverpool playing again, I know it's only a couple of weeks since they'd stopped, but it was great to see them back, wasn't it? And the new jersey looked a bizzo.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, it's only if it's not a proper pre-season, you know what I mean? We only finished a couple of weeks, but yeah, the new kits looked amazing. The lineup was surprisingly strong as well for the start. Something you never see in a pre-season friendly. But I suppose this is the season that's in it, isn't it? There's no time really to mess about too much. So yeah, it was great to see them back and motoring and looking good, and happy days. Good opposition. Stuttgart hadn't a bad team. It was a decent run out in awful conditions.
Yeah, the conditions for me, I was a bit worried because
really bad.
When you see a team going into pre-season, they're usually in warm weather training, that the pitches are decent, except when you go to America and you're playing on baseball pitches. But it's usually good. The pitches are good, the conditions are good, but when I seen the fucking rain and all sorts going on yesterday, I thought someone's doing something bad here. Someone's getting injured bad. But it turned out okay. Chris, to see them back, really, really good. And there's only 2 pre-season games we have before we play Arsenal in the Charity Shield. Were you surprised at the strong lineup, or do you think it was just an indication of this is a very shortened pre-season and we're just going to have to literally, instead of starting in neutral and going first, second, third, we're going to have to probably start in fourth gear here?
Yeah, I think it's probably more of the latter. I think they've only had like 2 weeks off. And to be fair, since they won the title, they had kind of been playing in a bit of a pre-season mode. So, no, it didn't surprise me that much. It was probably quite nice for Klopp to actually have that many options to start strong. But it gives you an indication of, I think, because of the way that the season is next year being so congested, maybe he's just deciding we probably need to repeat last year, which is go hard early and get a lead, and then try and see if you can hold on to your lead.
Yeah, it probably is, because I have a feeling he is going to go along the lines of getting out. I said it a couple of weeks ago, I think we're going to come out of the traps absolutely flying at this season. People have gone on about the extra week for Man City and Manchester United, but I think that's a good thing for us. It gets us a head start if possible. Grizz, I know you watched all the build up to the game, half time, after it, all the analysis. You trawled the internet for stuff on this game, but were you happy with what you're seeing overall?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very happy. It had to go strong, I believe, as well, just because of the nature of the pre-season this year, or the lack of it. So, yeah, just a good 45 minutes for the first 11. Get their legs going, and then, good to see a few of the youngsters do really well as well. So, overall, I'm sure there was no injuries. We didn't pick up any. No one went off.
Not on top of what we already have, which we'll discuss in a bit.
Yeah, but
Hoover got injured,
very successful. So say again, Chris.
Apparently, Keanu Hoover rolled his ankle.
Oh yeah.
No, first team. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So overall, considering, as you said, the conditions were absolute chaotic, a good run out.
Yeah, it was a good run out. We've obviously touched on the strength of the lineup, Keith, but I want to go through a couple of players that impressed. I'll let you go, Keith. Who impressed you most, probably looking from the first half?
From the first half, I thought Bobby looked lively enough. I thought Naby Naby started well. They were the picks for me. I thought everyone looked comfortable, but I was actually more impressed maybe with the second half. I don't know. It's that whole thing about seeing new players, isn't it? That I was looking forward to the second half to get a glimpse of some of the players that you don't see as often. You know what I mean? And Tsimikas on top of that as well. So, but the first half, I thought Naby and Bobby were probably the standouts for me.
Joe Robinson says that Thiago has just done a Hendo-style lift of the European Cup. Thiago to Liverpool confirmed. We'll have a little chat about him later. It's just inevitable. We will have a little chat about him later. Grizz, who impressed you?
Overall, or do you want to talk about that first?
You can go overall because I restricted Keith there and I feel a bit bad for it. So I'll let you go with overall.
Overall, I thought Minamino impressed me a lot.
Yeah.
Curtis Jones and Minamino were the standouts for me. I thought Curtis Jones in that first half sort of oozed confidence. It was almost like, I've arrived, I've had a good end to the season, and now I feel really part of this first 11. And, his touches, his control, his demeanour, it showed. He felt part of it. Obviously, Klopp explained why he left Gini out of that first 11 natural number 6 for the second half with the injury to Hendo. But still a massive vote of confidence for Jones. We always say we want to judge the youngsters when they're playing with the first team. When they're playing with the likes of Fabinho, when the likes of playing with Naby. And he didn't look out of place. And as Keith says, Stuttgart were very good opposition. You've got to remember, normally at this stage we're playing, a third League 3 team or League 2 team. Is there League 3? Did I just make that up?
No, there's
League
the Championship
2.
League 1 and League 2, Chris. And then you're saying stuff like Vanarama and all sorts of stuff.
Well, we're normally playing one of those, aren't we? So this was quite a step up in standard for a first game of the pre-season. I mean, I know circumstances are different, but yeah, good stiff test, good strong physical team it looked like. But we really done well in atrocious conditions. You've got to say again, you could see Mo wasn't sprinting. Sadio was so uncomfortable with sprinting. They were just sort of trying to get an even footing and sort of a firm footing and control the game. And I thought his touches, I thought Tsimikas on the ball was fantastic again in those conditions. I mean, Klopp alluded to his defensive he's going to have to learn us a defensive strategy. But in terms of his touches and his control and just a clone of Robbo, you could see that in the energy. But yeah, Minamino, just to end up on Minamino, I thought Minamino really showed that he's not the new kid in the class anymore. Again, but with a difference.
Yeah.
He was like sort of comfortable.
I've noticed that even in the training pictures and the footage of training, the training pictures, you will see that the Liverpool's Twitter feed will put out Minamino looking a lot more involved, a lot more confident, involved in the group, having to laugh with players. Where when you seen him towards the back end of the season, he was very quiet, very timid. Even when Liverpool lifting the league title, they literally had to tell him, "Listen, you get in the picture, get in here." Where he felt as a bit of an outsider, but I think there's been a noticeable thing there. Chris, I want to know who impressed you, but there was a comment there earlier, and Alex says it feels a bit weird not playing Tranmere. I know where you're coming from, but Chris, I come to you, and I'll get on to, obviously, as I said, the people that impressed you, but somebody said in the comments there earlier, the amount of players that look like they've bulked up, Naby Keita being one in particular that looks like he's being bulked up. Is that something that you've noticed? Because I have personally noticed where you go, fucking hell, they look like Salah looks like an absolute unit. Compared to he wasn't skinny and wordy, but he was a slight kind of player when you see him running around. I don't know if it's the night gear that's doing it, Chris, but it looks like there's been a lot of work put into bulking certain players up and making them look and feel a lot more physical.
I know. I thought it was that weird camera angle at first. Jones, particularly, I thought looked. I don't remember him looking that big, and I don't mean in a bad way. He just looked. He just looked huge. Like he's been. That's all he's done is sit in the gym. Which is probably a good thing. I mean, the biggest comment you give Jones is, while I don't think he was spectacular, is he did look out of place. He didn't like the new kid, whereas I still felt Williams looked a bit like the new kid who was trying to do what Trent can do. But Jones just seemed to slot in, and you were like going, yeah, he did what you'd expect someone in Liverpool's midfield to do. So, I thought Keita was probably the most impressive in the midfield, and I was, Bobby with his flicks and tricks that he does was really good. Second half, I like Minamino impressed me. The turns he was doing, or the way his movements, it felt a bit like peak Lallana when you could have played him in the midfield. Which whether he'll ever play there for Liverpool, I don't know. But I do think in certain European games, dropping someone like a Minamino in the top of the diamond, they want to switch it up, wouldn't be the worst idea. It's just the movement, the cleverness of it. It was good. I mean, maybe because that camera angle, you saw it a bit more. So, it was good. I was pleased to see Brewster get his goal. Again, he's another lad who looks like he's definitely bulked up a little bit. I mean, I think the championship's probably done him some good for that because he'll get kicked around a lot. So I think he's got to take it a bit more. Who's probably a little underwhelming for me was probably Elliot. I don't know, it's just because he's quite exciting. I was expecting a bit more out of him, but he was okay. It just, I was always expecting a bit more. And then there was the young Billy who came on for the last 15 minutes, who's just the biggest child I've ever seen in my life.
He's unbelievable. He came on, and we'll talk about him in a few minutes in detail, but he came on, and I've seen, we see the picture during the week of, it was a young versus old kind of game they done in training, and you see the winning team and stuff like that, and there was this guy standing beside Virgil, and I was like, is he bigger than him? And then when he come on the pitch, like, he is a man mountain. He's absolutely huge. But we'll get on to him in a few minutes because he deserves a mention. Even though it was a bit of a cameo, he definitely deserves a mention. Maverick says Brewster needs to have one more season on loan, then come back not ready for the first team. Yeah, interesting. I've put that up, but we are going to get onto it in a little bit. But I wanted to just put that thought in people's minds and have a little think about it, and when we get to them, give us your thoughts on it. Keith, a couple of players individually, Chris says there about Elliot. Elliot for me just looks like a player that's feeling his way in. It's very rarely he plays with these players on the football in an actual game. He's playing with them, training and stuff. But he screams to me of a player that will look for this season to be in around the squad again and grow, and his appearances will go up slightly. But you're probably looking at another year down the line before you look for a massive impact for him. But Tsimikas comes in and plays left back second half, and I thought he was really, really good, Keith. And I've done it for years where we get a player and we go, he's fucking brilliant, and he turns out he's shy, you know what I mean, and all the optimism that you have. But he looked so confident on the ball. His touch was really good. He wasn't afraid to come outside, inside. He was good on the cover. He looked really good for the player playing his first game, didn't he?
Yeah. Do you remember Moreno played against Spurs, scored a cracker?
Yes.
Went up the line.
Great show. Yeah.
Ty was great as well. But no, seriously, I think Tsimikas did look brilliant, and as we've said, right, the conditions were absolutely muck. Do you know what I mean? And he was still beating up and down that wing. And they give us that option now of having another fullback that is nearly a clone of Robbo and is left-footed. It's going to take so much pressure. I don't think people understand how big it is. It's going to be such an important weapon that we have, that we can utilize that, and we can rest Robbo, and we can take Robbo out if he needs a rest, and have a player that's literally like for like. If he settles, it's going to be a great weapon for us going forward. I think it's really exciting. I thought he done well. He got chewed out by Milner.
That was great.
Great to see as well. And
Nothing
then a
wrong
bit
with
of
that, by
laugh
the way.
afterwards.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Oh, listen,
That's a sign.
that's what you want to see.
Absolutely.
It happens
Do you know,
all
for
the
me-
time, but now when there's no one watching, you hear everything, and that's just...
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say.
But the thing is, like, and I get you. I let you go now in a sec, Chris. But the thing is, you don't want the player come. That to me, like Milner's having a go because obviously the way the style they play is give it to me and move, and we work an angle here somehow. But that to me is a confidence from Milner in this player, because if you hadn't got confidence at playing, you thought you might need to bed him in a little bit, you'd leave him. But he's confident in him, and he's like, there's a standard, stick to the fucking standard, or we're going to have problems here. Grizz, he seems to, and I'll let you run with Tsimikas, but I'll just throw this into your mind before you do. He seems to me the perfect player that can come in for Robertson, especially in games that we would normally just dominate. He looks to me like you'd have no problems with that. For argument's sake, if you're playing Burnley this weekend and you're playing Manchester United midweek and you want to give Robertson a little rest so he's ready to rock and roll against United, I'd have no issues straight off the bat with putting him in there.
Absolutely. Just finishing up on the Milner situation. Shall I tell you what I was very impressed with, apart from Milner feeling as though he can say F off to him?
Yeah.
That's a good sign as it is. because Milner feels he's comfortable enough already, or he's part of the setup already that you can tell him to F off, right? But what the best thing was out of all that, it didn't intimidate Tsimikas at all.
No.
He was absolutely on fire after that. I think that happened early in the second half, but for the rest of the game, he played his game as though nothing. You can imagine a new kid coming into the team, pressure, conditions, the vice captain shouting at you. You think you might go into your shell. But I thought it was a brilliant sign that the guy just absolutely turned into a monster after that. His energy levels will be superb. Of course, the slight language problem may be. I mean, he speaks perfectly good English, but sort of in terms of listening to the calls from Virgil or Alisson and sort of playing the offside trap that we play will take time. But I tell you what, Gav, I totally agree with you. I feel absolutely comfortable already. Now, I know Moreno, as Keith says, was amazing in his first game, and we thought, wow. But this guy is the real deal.
This fella has a brain.
But you can see the determination. I'm gonna hold back on the brain because I do think he's a very instinctive player, Gav, and I think he's gonna give us a lot of more heart attacks than Robbo when he plays. But he's a brave player. He's a very brave player. In terms of intelligence and game intelligence, yet to be seen, and obviously I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But in terms of bravery and sort of bravery on the ball and attacking, it's exactly what we need.
Yeah. Maverick says Tsimikas looks good, but remember he's from the Greek league. He will still need time to adapt. He absolutely will, but I'm more than happy because Milner, gives it to him, and I think about a minute or two later they're in a similar position, and Tsimikas just does the same thing. Comes inside and plays the ball wherever he needs to play it. And it wasn't a case of fuck you to whoever he was down the wing. It was a case of, no, I made the right decision and I'm confident enough in myself that this is the way it has to be played. But the big thing, as I said, to come out of it is Milner is very, as you said, Grizz, voice captain. You'd be thinking Klopp will pull Henderson or Milner or a Wijnaldum or a Van Dijk aside and say, or a Bobby or whatever, and say, listen, this is the new lad, look after him, get him blend and get him in with the squad. But they're balling at him, and I just thought it was brilliant. I was like, they full confidence in this fella. I love it. But I know where Maverick's coming from, a chance to bet in. But Maverick, in all my enthusiasm and optimism for Liverpool winning the league title again, I think Tsimikas is going to be fucking brilliant. Come back and let me know when he's dirt. Come back and let me know, and I'm willing to say no, it's I was wrong. But Colin Kavanagh says notice there was no Origi or Shaqiri for the game. Chris, you were saying before this, we are just discussing injuries and absentees and stuff like that. Obviously Trent has a knock, Harry Wilson supposedly has a knock, Origi the same, Oxlade-Chamberlain of course will miss the rest of pre-season, and it could be a little bit beyond that as well. But the big one was Shaqiri, and you were saying, how, like, I don't know,
I'm fit to play and looking forward to it. Injured first game.
Yeah, it's
just
what happens, isn't it?
It is a little bit. I mean, the cynic in me also goes, is he really injured? Or is he already been told, yeah, great, you're fit, fuck off now? I'm sort of getting that impression with him and Origi is, how injured are they? Are you of the opinion that they're being held back deliberately? Yeah. My opinion is I think Origi's been told he can go. And I think he's with his agent finding somewhere. And that's me, who is Shaqiri. And same with Wilson. I think all three of them are being told to go. The one surprise me was I was surprised Grujic in the squad because he seems to be the one that out of all the lads we would look to get rid of who has the most noise around him. So I was a little surprised they want to risk him. I mean, to be honest, he didn't do a lot in the game anyway, so there was nothing I saw in the game that made me think, we need to keep Grujic. But I might be wrong. They might just be injured. They might just be injured. But this time of the year, I'm a bit like, not really. I just think I think those two are off. Same mechanics.
A lot of people, Joseph Welch included, reckons Origi may be the COVID patient that was being discussed during the week. We don't want to
discuss all that.
No. That's just the opinion of these people coming forward. Brian Murphy says Origi tested positive for the Rona. Look, it could be that thing, but
I
think it might have got rubbish, and I think Liverpool will be under obligation to let people know if somebody had it, and I think it'd be very hard for someone to test positive and the name not to come out, that's just my opinion on it, but we'll have to wait and see.
But going back, but just quickly, I just wanted to go back to, do you know Chris's point about Grujic, and we touched upon the players that impressed, but in terms of that didn't impress, unfortunately, and I know it's only 45 minutes, and I know the conditions and etc., all the mitigating circumstances, but you could see Grujic. Where does he fit in this system? Where does he fit in this team? You know, we've got this image of him being a 6'4" brute. As a DM, he's not. But then how the hell does he get in as an 8? You know, he's to me he's a box to box midfielder, but we don't really play it with a box to box type midfielder. He's also the player with the most interest from other clubs. I can tell you that for a fact. The most amount of inquiries have been made for Grujic, so he's a man in demand. And just like Chris, I'm slightly surprised that he's with the squad playing. You know, I pretty much nailed on that he's going to be sort of, him or Wilson are going to be the first ones that get picked off by other clubs.
It's the Grujic stuff, just to touch on it, and like Grizz said, a lot of inquiries about Grujic. I think it's the most inquiries have come for Grujic for a couple of reasons. I think he is quite sought after. I think that's fair to say. But I think the other thing is that they know he's available. They know he's available, and Liverpool have probably named the price. They're not going to mess around in this window and say, "Oh, let's wait till the last week and try to get something out of him." I think the value is probably there, the fee is probably there, and the people that want him are probably there. So it'll just be a case of who wants him most, I suppose. Keith, just Gini Wijnaldum starts the second half, and I want to discuss Gini Wijnaldum a little bit. You know, people are asking there. You know, is it noticeable that Gini Wijnaldum started in the second team? Grizz has cleared that up. Grizz said, look, Klopp says he wanted a natural 6 to play in the second half, and you have to split them around because of Henderson not being there, I suppose, and because there's no Oxlade-Chamberlain and stuff. They had to split the kind of teams up, especially in that position. But Keith, for you, look, I've heard numerous different things. You know, that Wijnaldum's head's being turned by Barcelona. He's open to that. I've heard that the deal looks like it could be signed. I watched them playing there yesterday, Keith, and I have to be honest, I'm devastated if Gini Wijnaldum leaves Liverpool Football Club. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, he's been absolutely pivotal for us in the last couple of years without being the centre of attention. You know, he's been such an important player, such an underrated player. We haven't had many unsung heroes, but I would put Gini as front and centre of that. I think he's been the best player that doesn't get the attention he deserves. And I think he's one that we would miss if he was to leave because of what he does. I mean, there's nobody that can carry the ball through the pitch like Gini does. You know, it's a very underrated quality that he has, and it's something that airplay really depends on. Now, look, we'll go on about Thiago, I'm sure, as well, but he's a totally different midfield player. To have a Gini there, we spoke about Grujic maybe not being developing as a player that can play in an 8. We've got Oxlade-Chamberlain is a player that just constantly gets injured. Wijnaldum is so he's always there, he's always fit, he's durable, he's versatile. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's always available. And I just think it's one that, yeah, it is. It's something that, you know, you can't look, there's a clamour for people. There's a clamour for idiots, right, on Twitter that are trying to run Gini out of Liverpool and getting Thiago in, and they're abusing him on social media. And I don't know what that game is. They're idiots, right? And they don't appreciate what this fella does for their team and has done. And I'll tell you, Klopp won't want to lose him. Do you know what I mean? And if Klopp doesn't want to lose him, then that's good enough for me. You know, I'd love to see him sign a new contract. It doesn't mean we don't get Thiago. Yeah. Sign a contract and get them both.
Yeah, Maverick says would rather keep Gini than have him leave for Thiago. He's a unique player we have. Will be so difficult to replace, and he's very fit and very reliable. I think that's a very fair point. Grizz, I'm going to ask yourself and Chris the same question. What's your feelings on Wijnaldum now? Because there's a couple of options. He does go to Barcelona, or he goes somewhere now. He runs out his contract and leaves for free, or he signs a contract and he commits his future and the best part of the rest of his career to Liverpool. Where do you sit on it now?
I think there's a third option as well, Gav.
I gave you 3.
Options.
No, I gave you 3. One is he leaves now. The second one is he runs out his contract and then leaves. Or the third one is he signs a contract and commits his future to Liverpool.
Yeah, you cut out one of them. Sorry.
Oh, did he? Were you in a tunnel?
I think the situation is, I think we've tried everything to make him sign a new contract, and I think he's entitled to do what he wants for his final contract, for his final payday, for his. He's been an absolute brilliant servant for us. As Keith says, the term unsung hero is often labelled at everyone, but he's the ultimate unsung hero in my eyes. I genuinely don't think he's going to go. I genuinely don't think. There's definitely been no inquiry from Barcelona officially or anything. The rumours, obviously, because of his relationship with Koeman and being Dutch and the Dutch link, and Barca not having much money, but being able to sort of get cheap 20-30 million pound signings. Klopp definitely doesn't want him to go. It's very much like the Emre Can situation, except Emre Can didn't deserve to sort of be called any sort of unsung hero, or I think he was given way too much respect than Gini is, because Gini's actually been there through the tough times, toughed it out with us, stayed there. 7 years will it be coming up to now? How long has he been with us?
No, Gini was signed in the summer of 2016.
Okay, so 4 years. Yeah, he's been. Sorry.
7 or 4. It's close.
I was thinking about Thiago at Bayern. 7. I still got Thiago on my mind. 7 years at Bayern. Sorry, but Gini, look, hate to see him go. I'm with all you guys. Wouldn't want him to go. Mr. Durable, Mr. Reliable. The usual phrases. Every team needs a Gini. It's everything together. I genuinely think he's going to stay. The offer is still on the table. I know there's been some rumours that we haven't offered him anything, or there's no talks. Well, there was plenty of talks, but they were stalled because he had agreed to sign it, but for some reason, whatever reason, he hasn't. I don't think he wants to leave either, unless an amazing bid, and we're talking 30 million plus, comes in. Gini ain't going anywhere. I think Gini sees out his contract, signs.
So your vote is that he runs down his contract and leaves for free next summer?
I'd lay money on that if I was a betting man.
Okay, Chris, would you lay money on that if you're a betting man, or have you got a slightly different feeling on it?
That seems the most likely one. The only hope I have that he might still sign a new contract is, unlike Emre Can, there's no noise from him or his agent. Whereas Emre Can, you knew for a year he was going. He couldn't shut up to tell you where he was going and how he was going to bigger and better things, and Liverpool wouldn't offer him this, Liverpool wouldn't offer that. It was all leaked out. We all knew. Gini Wijnaldum, we've not heard anything. It's been deafeningly silent about the fact he's not had a contract, but no one knows what's the hold-up, which is telling in some ways, which means, say, either him and the club are quite relaxed and perhaps they've all just done a shake hands, you go at the end of the seat, you go at the end of your contract, good luck to you, or there's still a chance they're going to negotiate something. The Barca link, I think, 2 and 2 equals 5. It's just a very easy link because he played well in the Koeman. And the talk now they run his contract down and go to Barcelona. I'd be amazed at Koeman last year. Because Barcelona's just a basket case club at the moment. I'm not sure why he'd want to go. It feels to me if he'll run his contract down, and I could see him being a Juventus player. It feels like a Juventus type move is get someone of that quality on a free, which Juventus have done very well at. So sadly, I think that's probably what's going to happen. I hope he signs a new contract, but I feel like he'll run his contract down, which in some ways will be good for us because as great as Thiago looks and everyone knows how good he is, we're assuming he's going to settle first game, hit the ground running and be brilliant. Hopefully he does. But if he doesn't, it's not bad having someone like a Gini in the squad to go give him time to settle and not have to worry about, shoot, we need Thiago to hit the ground running because we haven't got Wijnaldum, we haven't got anybody else to fill in.
Yeah. Warren reckons Gini wants 3 years on this contract. Liverpool are only happy to offer him 2. I haven't heard anything like that, I'm being honest with you. I haven't read it anywhere, but if Warren knows better than me, absolutely fair enough. Mr. Naird said, wasn't there a clause inserted in the Coutinho sale that Barcelona would need to pay a premium fee for any future players from us? I'd suggest if this is the case, he would agree with Grizz with running down the contract. I don't know if there was a time limit on that though.
Yeah, I think that was at the time and that's expired.
Yeah, I think that might have, because he signed in the was it the January of 18?
18, yeah.
So it could be up, or it could be up in a couple of months. I'm not too sure. Stephen Fitzpatrick reckons LFC won't do another Emre Can. Absolutely no chance. We'll have to wait and see. My vote is that he signs a deal. I think the talk, and listen, I've kind of, I'm sure if you went back over shows, you go, you fucking said this 3 weeks ago. I'm all over the place with this. I'm being honest with you. I'm changing my mind on Thiago every day of the bleeding week. Yeah. I'm changing. It's just because when you read little snippets and you can take them in a certain way, and I should probably just stop reading stuff. But for me, I don't think Thiago and Wijnaldum depend on each other. I'm being honest with you.
I think right. I remember you making that call. I said I remember you saying that we were on a podcast with Andy, and you had a little bet.
Yeah.
And I agreed with you then, and I still agree with you now.
Because I'll tell you why.
Just to let you know.
Thanks, Chris, and it's great to have your support and your continued support. Yeah. But you remembering shit is just blowing my mind as well.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Grizz, like,
yeah.
I've just texted him. That's why.
Shut up, Keith.
But the thing, I don't think they rely on each other. Like I read something the other day and it sparked me, and it was somebody on Twitter. I don't even know who it was, and they went, "How about we just sign Thiago?" And just sell Origi. Like they were talking about signing Thiago, selling Origi and swapping Wijnaldum with Coutinho when you're all sorted. And I was kind of going, that sounds a bit mad. Is it plausible? Probably not. But then I got to thinking, I thought, there's no reason why Liverpool can't just sign Thiago and keep Wijnaldum. Just add an extra midfielder in, because when you go back to these injuries and you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain, and you kind of go, how reliable is he? You know, that kind of way. So Shaqiri could be considered a midfielder, and look what's happening. But he could go, Grujic could go, Milner's getting all. I think there's every possibility that Wijnaldum signs a new deal and Thiago comes in anyway. Now, I have read that because of our quota of foreign players and stuff like that, a player of foreign nationality would have to leave. I don't think that'll be an issue anyway, because there's plenty of them that are foreign and look like they're about to leave anyway. But one more player before we get away from the game itself, Keith, is Raheem Brewster. Now, we had a big chat about this last Sunday, or one of the transfer agenda shows during the week, and we were talking about Raheem Brewster and what we think would happen, what we'd like to happen. He scores a goal there yesterday. Are your feelings changing on this at all, Keith? Because I'm still in the camp that a season with this squad is as beneficial as going on loan anywhere, providing Raheem Brewster's happy to be there with limited games and use it as a learning exercise that will be more beneficial for him further down the line.
Yeah. Before we go on, we've got 480 watching and we've 195 likes, so if everyone can just smash that like button.
Ridiculous. We're trying to get to 400 likes in a live show. We just keep setting this target, and did we get close to it last week? 391 was it?
Yeah.
So let's see if we can let's get to 400 for the crack. That's why we just see. Yeah. It's just a challenge we're setting everyone. Yeah. So bang that. So go ahead.
So Brewster. Yeah, I thought at the time that maybe a Premier League loan would have been a good move for him to get game time, but I've actually changed my mind, and I think staying around the squad and getting the games, if we were to move Origi on, if he was part of a backup unit, which included Minamino, Brewster, and I don't know, another. And he got game time, but it wasn't like he's the first sub, for want of a better phrase. That Minamino could replace Bobby for a game, but Brewster could as well. I think if he got enough games, if he could see enough action, if he were 3-0 up in a game and you threw him on, I think that could well be more beneficial for Brewster than a year away, because another loan is another year away from Klopp. It's another year down on the contract, and it just makes it harder, I think, for him to get back in. I think now he's grown, as we said earlier on about players looking like they've come back bigger. Brewster looks like he's developed from a boy into a man. He's come back from a very good loan spell, and I think it's a good time to bring him back in and let him get the games. Like, as you said, Curtis Jones benefited hugely from not getting loaned out. Nico Williams benefited hugely from not getting loaned out. And they didn't play many games, but they were in around the squad. And then when it came to the end of the season, they were the first taxis off the rank to get games. And I think that could benefit Brewster.
Yeah, I just think, I agree with everything you say. You know, it is a year away from Klopp, and regardless, like you see people go on loan, and they were great on loan, but they're not being watched every single day. They're not being. You don't know if they're, you know, they're turning up one game in 4, and people are just over egging them. Now, I'm not saying Liverpool aren't watching the likes of a Harry Wilson every week. You know that they are. They would have details on him every single week. But I just think to learn and to play with to learn off the players they have there right now in particular, I think is unbelievable. And when you see the amount of games Liverpool are going to play next season and how close they are together because of this condensed season, there's every chance he could get a run in this team. There is every chance he could if something goes wrong and you decide to throw him in there. And Klopp's not afraid to do it. Chris, we haven't got your view on this yet, and I'll get to Grizz in a minute because I don't know if his has changed. But you would have listened to this discussion during the week. What's your feelings on Raheem Brewster and what we should do with him for this upcoming season?
I think he needs another loan. I know I keep saying it's another loan, but he missed 18 months of his career with a bad ankle injury, a really bad one, you know, and he's bounced back from it well. But I'm just trying to think. It's middle of December. We need a goal. We're desperate for a goal. We're throwing Brewster on. And look, I hope it works out. If that happens and he scores loads, great. But my gut feeling is when I go, oh, here's our chance. And I don't think I would have go, that's not quite what we need. A bit like when we throw Origi on this year. We threw Origi on last year. I didn't think he was going to score. You know, I thought he might be a nuisance. So I can't make my mind up with him. I mean, if we do keep him on loan, fine. But I still think we need to bring somebody in the front three who's better than Origi. And maybe Brewster is fifth choice. So you have like the front three, a new guy, and then you have Brewster. And then there's less pressure on him. I could be completely wrong, but I don't know. I just feel like there's something missing that doesn't make me think, hang my hat on him. Now maybe I'm just being harsh, I don't know, but it just doesn't quite jump out to me as the player I thought he was 2 years ago. Maybe because of the injury, but I'm thinking alone, or if we are going to keep him, it can't be at the expense of not bringing another wide person in. I would say, because I'm still trying to work out people through the middle. We are going to change how we play because he doesn't play like Firmino. Now he can learn to do that, but at the moment he doesn't. He plays more like an out-and-out on-the-shoulder striker, and we don't play that way anymore. So how's that going to work? Because he's not going to get many chances to run in behind and things like that because nobody gives us space in behind because everyone knows how we play. So I'm sort of edged towards alone might do him good, or if he does stay, fine, but I don't think he should be the first name off the bench if we need a goal.
Okay, Grizz, we've spoken about does Wijnaldum and Thiago depend on each other? Is it a case of, and of course let me know how you still feel on Brewster, but is it a case of Brewster's situation depending on what happens to Divock Origi? Because if Divock Origi leaves, they could look for Brewster to be that backup, like Keith said, in a unit of Minamino, Brewster and another. Does it kind of hinge on Origi? Because if Origi stays with the money he's on and the profile, I think he would more or less be ahead of Raheem Brewster. Whereas if you got rid of Origi and brought in, I don't know, say for argument's sake, a Sarr, he's an out and out winger, you know, that kind of way. It could look like Brewster could be that man. He's a central person in the backup unit. You know that way. Could it depend on Divock Origi?
I think so. It's I know we discuss it sort of near enough every other day about the situation with Brewster. It's probably one of the most intriguing for me this summer. You know, when we think about loans and Klopp, it usually means if he's continuously sending you out on loan, he doesn't really think you have a long-term future at Liverpool. A la Grujic, Wilson, Woodburn, to name a few, Ejaria, Ojo, etc., etc. And I thought the same with Brewster, I must admit, last season. But then I think one of our listeners or someone made a brilliant point. And I know Chris has touched upon it now, but I'm not going to give Chris the credit for making the brilliant point because someone else said it before him. But he did have a lot of time out with his injury, and so therefore that loan last year made sense because you could see he wasn't quite the same, and it was a very bad ankle injury that he got. so he wasn't quite the same, and so therefore the loan was justified. I think this season is different. In just opinion, I think the coaching team are torn what to do as well. I think Klopp and co with him, because I'm of the opinion that Brewster has to start training with this bunch of forwards and midfielders now, with this team. He's got to be under the supervision of Klopp and Pep Linders. He's got to be in the mould of Elliott, Jones if he's going to progress, because look, Elliott and Jones got the most inquiries for loan last season, but Klopp believed in them. And anyone he believes in, he says he doesn't want to go because he thinks the time spent on training ground under his and Pep's and the rest of the coach's supervision is more beneficial than playing for Derby or whatever.
Great
You know what I
point.
mean? I understand some people saying, look, he needs a Premier League loan, but again, I'll go back to the point about it, the only is it a problem or whatever, however you look at it. The Brewster is a central striker. He's a number 9 that can drift out wide, but he's not a player that starts wide and drifts in, a la Rashford or a Greenwood for United, right? He's the opposite. He's comfortable and you know, he's been under my scrutiny in terms of studying Gav. I've been studying him, and I really think he's come on leaps and bounds. I really think we need to make space for him in the squad, and I'm very happy to make space for him over Divock Origi, who will fetch a larger fee at this stage than Brewster. Not by much. I know everyone thinks Divock Origi, Champions League winner, etc., destroyer of Everton galore. You know, it's King Slayer of Everton. No, the fact of it is, not many teams are willing to give more than 20, 25 million for Divock Origi at the moment, and that's an issue where we know he's worth more than that, really. So overall, I'd really like Brewster to stay with this squad, train with this squad, you know, learn. You know, the only way he's gonna, you know, Chris touched upon, you know, he's not similar to Bobby in trait, but the only way he's gonna pick up the traits of Bobby is the more he plays with Bobby.
But you don't want to turn him into you don't want to turn him into Firmino, because Jono says we need to stop looking for the next Firmino. You'd be
Absolutely.
looking for another 10 years.
Well, do you remember in our WhatsApp group we touched upon? Well, we don't play that system. Well, I believe, and we've discussed this before, we evolve our formations and our roles every season, and we develop into a different type of attack, you know, a variety of attacks. And so we shouldn't just be concentrated on this. We play this 4-3-3-3. I don't think we're going to play 4-3-3. I said 3 too many times. 4-3-3. Yeah.
14 players, deadly.
So I think he needs to stay, and I think he needs to add variety. You know, he's another form. He's another type of attacker we'd have. So for me, I would most certainly keep Brewster over Origi.
The only thing before we move on, Gav, sorry, if you loan Brewster out, it has to be a Premier League loan, right? So another year in the Championship, I don't think will be too much beneficial to him. But if you loan to the Premier League team, you want them playing every week, or else what's the point? So where do you loan them? You know, it's a really important move to loan them somewhere.
Well, Liverpool do,
because you might as well be training at Liverpool than not getting a game at Southampton or at Newcastle or somewhere else, Leeds, you know.
Well, Liverpool do have a policy when they send up players out on loan that they get X amount of game time, and the side that loans them, if they don't stick to that, he can be taken back, A, or B, there's financial clauses put in the contract. You know, now that might matter much to Premier League sides, but I don't think you want to be going around annoying Jurgen Klopp, because he will just go, give us the player, we take him back, you know what I mean? And even if you're not using them that much, you're down a player in your squad. You know, and it could be outside the transfer window, and you're down them for 4 or 5 months. I get where people are coming from with, and like Chris said, like he had a bad injury, but that bad injury is a good bit behind him now. Yeah. You know, like you've seen him you seen him around the squad during 2018-19. Of course, he gets a Champions League winners medal because he's in the squad. Then he goes out and he has that loan at Swansea. I just think, like a lot of people in the chat, it's split in the chat. I'm going to be honest with you, it's very, very split. Where people would loan him, people would keep him. Some people are saying they don't feel he'd make it anyway, regardless, and that's fine. But for me, I just think when you look at, there's an argument there to say you send out on loan to catch up a little bit, you know, on sharpness, on actual games. But there's an argument now to say where you put him in with Nico Williams, you put him in with not Curtis Jones, I think he's moved on to the next level, but Nico Williams, Harvey Elliott, Keanu Hoover, and you say and him, and you say there's 4 players now that we're going to keep around the squad. They're going to learn. They're going to embrace the way we play. They're going to, mature throughout the season, and they're going to get their chances. And I think that's the right thing for them, but we'll have to wait and see. I think the Divock Origi thing, it may be one of those where I think it absolutely could depend on what happens to Divock Origi. There's loads of chatting here about Thiago. People are asking questions about Thiago, commenting on Thiago. Apparently, some fella called Falk, is it?
Christian Falk, yeah.
He has hinted that Bayern will try and keep Thiago and persuade him to stay.
Well, it's funny, right? Before you go on from that, I've seen that tweet, right? And I don't see that at all. What the tweet was Jan Åge Fjørtoft saying, do you think Bayern will make a last-ditch attempt to get him to sign a new contract? And Christian Falk said, come back and talk to me tomorrow with a little wink. That could mean the Liverpool deal is announced tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so people are jumping on that. It could mean that, and so it wouldn't be too and if he does sign a new deal, look, the emotion of winning the Champions League, players' heads do be all over it, sign their life away. We saw with Gerrard how his head got cabbaged after we won in Istanbul. So, anything can happen on the night, but I think people might be reading too much into the Falk comment on Twitter.
Yeah,
they are.
They are. But look, we're underway in pre-season, and we got on to a few more bits. But before we leave that game itself, this young lad, Grizz, his name I find impossible to pronounce, but and Keith will help me out at some stage. But he's 17, he's 6 foot whatever. I don't know what he is.
Vandenberg.
Not him.
I know you don't.
No, he's 2 years away from being 2 years away, as you said last week. But
it was telling he was the first one subbed off, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because he's done his job.
But it was going to be him. It was always going to be him.
Yeah,
it's But this lad, Bobby something, isn't it?
Billy the Kid.
Billy.
Billy.
Why have I got Bobby in my head? It's Billy. Billy the Kid, as Mick calls him. We just call him Billy the Kid from now on. Can we do that?
Yeah, we're going to call him Billy the Kid.
Sound absolutely brilliant. Billy the Kid. So he comes on, and Grizz, he makes a cameo, and I really liked him. And the best thing about it was when the ball came in the box in the corner, he headed this fucking ball about 60 yards up the pitch, and I was like, yeah, I'll have a bit of him.
He's better than Tyrone Mings already.
Yeah. And Nathan Ake.
Yeah, so Tyrone Mings. We've got a player, 17 years old, 6'4". He's training with the. Come on, since when has 1 inch mattered to you, Keith?
Matters a lot.
Since he's training with the first team squad, first of all, you gotta have something about you to be training with this first team squad. He's 6'4", Gav. He looked very comfortable on the ball, very calm. Again, let's remind, and for anyone who didn't watch the match, and for anyone did, they'll know that the conditions were awful, especially for defenders. Absolutely, you gotta make sure your touch is perfect, and his was. Didn't get much to see about what kind of pace he's got, but it didn't seem bad. His strength, it's going to develop. He's a kid, as we said. Some of his clearances were, as you said, humongous with his head.
It was the one from the corner. It came in and he just jumped up and headed this thing, and it was like, where, like, the camera angles were weird, but I think the camera nearly lost the ball. Like in golf when a fella hits a shot long and it actually goes longer than the cameraman thinks, and he's like scrambling for where the ball's gone. It was fucking brilliant. I loved it.
Now he's the same age as Sepp van den Bramble, as one of our friends calls us. Yeah. Look, the difference was so apparent. I mean, I hate when others get on a player's backs and give them sort of all sorts of abuse or whatever. I'm not going to give the kid abuse, Sepp van den Berg, but you could see the difference in aura, in sort of just calmness. Sepp looked like a bag of nerves. Every time he's played, he's looked like a bag of nerves. I get he's 17. There must be something the scouts saw in him. Our scouting system, our scouts are the best. So I'm not going to, totally rule him out of playing for
Beat Bayern to the signing as well, like, so.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say nothing. But this kid, Gav, looks looks like he could be our 5th choice centre back, and that's quite a leap ahead of Hoover, Sepp Vandenberg, Nat Phillips. I know we didn't touch on Nat Phillips, but again, he didn't look comfortable at all. Yeah, but this kid Gav, the world's his oyster at this stage. If he continues and develops the way the coaches and Klopp talk about him and praise him, the world's his oyster. I mean, what a talent we possibly have on our books. So exciting.
Yeah, he's Anto says unsmash the unlike button, whoever you are. We always get these unlikes. There's always 2 of them when we finish the show.
Yeah, we've got 2.
There's always 2. We know who they are as well. But we
One's
know who they
defo
are.
that where's Marty fucking weirdo. Definitely.
He
And
loves
if it
you.
isn't, it will be now.
And he's only unliked it because of me, but sod him.
Yeah, no, he loves you really. He's great crack, that fella. But we have a fair idea as who they are. But if people don't like
People
it, they can
are
hit the
allowed,
unlike button
yeah.
if they want. That's why we're asking for people to hit the like button, because that all the likes drown out these 2. It actually goes up around between 2 and 7 every show.
Yeah,
but
we're on 3 now, so we've got
are
another.
we?
This
Oh, we've another.
yeah.
There's a
That
movement
could be
here.
Marty. That could be
There's a movement
Marty.
here. It reminds me of the FSG lads that held that big protest outside Melwood, and one of them turned up. But listen, don't be worrying about it. What you do is to counteract those negative people, just you keep smashing the like button. And
We're on 250,
Are we?
254 at the moment. 254.
Okay, so we have about 10-15 minutes left. So if you can get us to 400, it'd be absolutely brilliant. I think our record is 391, somewhere along them lines, or 380, somewhere along that. But if you can get us to 400, it's go for it. So pre-season, we move on. We play Red Bull Salzburg. When do we play them? Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Grizz, I'll come to you. What do you want to see out of this one? Because we've seen, the makings of those 2 sides against Stuttgart were extremely strong. As Chris said earlier, Keanu Hoover looks like he's rolled his ankle, but it might be just something small. Are you looking for something similar? Are you looking to mix it up a bit? Or is there any players you want to see playing together that haven't already, and you want to just see how they mix? What are you looking for out of this one?
Difficult to say, Gav. I think it's pretty much the same. We can't look for much difference. I don't think we'll do much different. Is the Charity Shield this weekend?
Sunday.
Yeah. So again, we won't risk them more than 45 minutes.
Yep.
Klopp and the coaches will know what kind of fitness levels they're at in terms of with training, but whatnot. Anyway, we don't need to push them that so hard. It's going to be a mad, intense start to the season. So I think another 45 minutes, and then we're probably likely to play, 60-70 minutes in the. I'm talking about the first 11 in the Charity Shield. So yeah, pretty much the same.
Okay. Keith, for you, is there something that you're looking at and you're saying, same again, it's 45 minutes each, it's fitness, or are you looking to hone your skills a little bit more because you only have got Arsenal, and then we follow that with Leeds? What date does Leeds? I have to
2 weeks away or something.
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
have they announced the fixtures?
What night?
I have a feeling that might be a Friday night.
Friday night. Yeah.
But
I have a feeling with that myself.
Do you want just same again? Mix them up whatever way you want. 45 minutes each, no injuries, happy days.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it'll be a strong team and a weak team. Now it could be the opposite way. They might start off for the second half team might start the game this time, but I think he'll keep as close to his first 11 with a few adjustments. As you said about Genie, I think we'll be as close to our full choice 11 in one of the halves against again another good team. Another high standard quality opposition. So yeah, I think we'll go strong. I think it might be even stronger, the main team. You might see a Genie in the mix. Thiago mightn't sign in time, but we might have him in there, but who knows? Tuesday.
Chris, we definitely want better conditions on Tuesday than we got yesterday. And when I'm looking at it, I'd love to see, like we've seen Curtis Jones in there with Fabinho and Keita. Is there an argument that Fabinho could drop out, put Wijnaldum in there, mix it around? Could you get Minamino into the side that's involved with the starting lads as you will put them? Is there an argument for Brewster to start in there with the lads that start every week and give them a go? Or do you does it really not matter? It's just a case of minutes in the legs, and as I said before, fingers crossed, no injuries.
I think it don't really matters. I think it's just fingers crossed don't get injuries. And as great as Fabinho is, he doesn't seem to do great in these patched up sides. Whenever he's played in Shrewsbury League Cup, he seems to struggle a bit. Now maybe that's because he has a bit more. He knows how the other guys play, but he never seems to be that great in that. I think probably having Genie in that other side is probably better. So it wouldn't surprise if just save 11 for both halves again. I mean, you'd like to think if in Salzburg you'll have decent drainage, so if it does rain, we shouldn't really have the same debacle we had in the other game. So I'm looking forward to it because they'll be a real test then, because I mean they were in the Champions League, so I think that'll be good for us, a good pressing challenge for us. So it'd be nice for a few of the guys to get a few more goals and that. My slight concern is, isn't there an international break the weekend before the season starts, which is crackers?
Yeah.
Now, I think it affects the European lads.
Somehow they'll give Roy Hodgson an international job somewhere, and he'll fucking Brazil, and he'll wreck Alisson and Firmino on us, something along them lines, like he done to Daniel Sturridge.
I think the South American lads and African lads, I don't think they've got games. I think it's just European lads who have got games. So hopefully that limits the risk of injuries, but still, I don't know why they've decided to put up bloody friendlies just before the season starts. It's stupid.
Yeah, I know, but you see, everyone's fighting to get their own seasons done, and that includes friendly. People go, "Why are you playing friendlies?" Money. Advertisers want international games played for TV and stuff like that. It's just the way it goes. Kev O'Sullivan says, "Lads, we have two fit senior centre backs. This is a problem that needs fixed in the next week or two." I agree with you, Kev, and we're going to be looking at that probably in depth on the Tuesday transfer agenda show. We're going to go and see. We're going to all go and have a look over the next 48 hours as to what Liverpool could or will do with regards to centre half, because I think you're right. I think something has to be done. Nat Phillips, is Keith's shout. But I'd love to see not Shawnee Lawson's face. I'd love to see Grizz's face if Sepp van der Berg was on the bench for the first league game and Joe Gomez went down with an injury. It would be quite a sight. It absolutely would. Look. The pre-season is underway. We've spoken about the players that have impressed. We've spoken about what's to come, stuff like that. And we've spoken about Genie, but everyone wants to talk about Thiago. And he's a Champions League winner tonight with Bayern Munich. All the talk is that he will sign for Liverpool. I'm flip-flopping all over the place on it, I'm being honest with you, because I just love Genie Wijnaldum. But Keith, to come to you first, we've spoken about this at length now, show after show, but it has legs all the time, as Grizz would say, because it keeps changing, or there's different angles that it's brought out. A lot of journalists are coming out saying, foreign journalists now, I have to say, coming out and saying, no, Thiago will be at Liverpool next season. Where are you on this now?
I think he's at Liverpool. I think there'll be an announcement tomorrow of a deal or of a bid being gone in and being accepted or something. I think there is too much smoke. I don't think he's going to sign a new contract at Bayern. I think he's already said he's not going to renew. He wants a new challenge. Bayern have come out and said they know he's not going to renew. They're doing all they can to convince Alaba to sign a new contract without even mentioning Thiago. I think it's a done deal, personally. I see Arsenal have entered the race for him, which is a slight worry. Said no one ever. Why would he go to Arsenal? But I just think the lack of proper links to Thiago makes me feel that this is just people are inquiring and they're being told, look, don't bother.
A declaration of silence between Bayern Munich and Liverpool, like
something like that. Could be, could be along those lines. It's like, look, he's for sale. Yeah, he's gone, but he's got a deal set up with Liverpool. So, you're wasting your time. All the links that they're so tenuous for a player of his quality. And make no mistake, Thiago is in the top 3 midfield players in the world, right? And to have him, I was only thinking about this, watching him tonight. He's like Xabi Alonso in the way he plays, but a bit more attacking sort of onus. And to have him dropped into our team, we had Xabi as a young 22-year-old or whatever when he signed for us, and he grew with us. Thiago's the ready-made Jabby, and it's like dropping Jabby into Bayern when he went there. You'll get 2-3 years solid out of him, and he'll dictate the play. We'll move the ball quicker up to the attack. Gives us a new dimension. People say they don't know where he fits in. He fits in. Don't worry about that. I just think the silence here is the silence is deafening for me. The lack of other interest is telling, and maybe I'll be wrong and I'll have egg on my face, and we will start with Oxlade, Chamberlain, Naby Keita, and we'll all be screaming, pulling our hair out. Genie goes and Thiago doesn't come in. But look, that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? I just think that all the signs are that Thiago's signing for us.
Oh, I'd never knock anyone on this show for coming on and giving their beliefs. And you can be right or wrong. It's the people that scare around it for me is the issue. Paul Hardwick says it's not happening. Move on, Paul. I'd love you to elaborate on that. And I'm not having a go with you there. I'd love you to elaborate for the reasons why you think it won't happen, because they are as valid as reasons why you think it will. In my opinion,
We've all been there. We've all been frightened to say it's happening. I've been there. I was there yesterday, and now I'm back around to say it will happen.
Maverick says Thiago is a grade A flirt. Don't believe anything till after the next 3 days. Good shout as well, Chris. People are saying the lack of links, I suppose, from, as Keith says, is a very valid point. Where do you stand on this? Because Bayern have thrown little bits and pieces out, but they've gone a bit quiet on it. Liverpool, I read the journalist, and I apologise that the name is gone beyond me. I can't get it back into my head. But a journalist said yesterday that he's asked for the 4th time about Thiago Alcantara to Liverpool. He's asked Liverpool on 4 occasions, the most recent being, I think, was yesterday or the day before, and he was told that this transfer is built on fantasy. That was the
Paul
line
Gorst,
that came out of Liverpool. Was it Paul? It might have been Paul Gorst, but it was him. Okay, I didn't want to say a name and get myself into trouble or accuse somebody of saying something that he didn't. But he said that the word that has come back is that is a transfer built on fantasy. What do you make of that?
That's the only thing that's making me flip-flop, because as most of the other journalists have given themselves what I call a get-out clause. What was the local patcher always saying, like, it's not an active transfer. That doesn't mean it's not a transfer, it's just not active. You can ring tomorrow, it's active. And all the foreign journalists saying, well, it's all agreed as long as Liverpool pay this fee. So if it doesn't happen, they go, well, Liverpool didn't pay the fee. The Arsenal one, which is a bit, I mean, it doesn't make sense, the link, because it's like, oh, he'd happily turn down the league champions to go and play Europa League football. Don't get that. But the key thing that I read in the article was Arsenal won't pay the asking price of 23 million. Now, the fact, if you're in a bidding war, but you won't pay the asking fee, you're not in the bidding war. But the fact is, where's 23 million come from? Because all we've heard for 2 months is 30 million euros, so it's about 27 million. So this is now the 3rd time the price has gone down. So, I mean, it just feels, maybe it's just last minute clickbaited before it happens. So my gut feeling is I still think it happens, and I still think we have Genie next year as well. They're the two I think happen. My bigger concern is probably not if we get Thiago, is what happens after that, because I've got a horrible feeling we're going to get a Thiago. Well, that's not a horrible thing, but get an attacker in and leave ourselves light at the back. We've got the most fragile centre backs I've ever seen, apart from Van Dijk.
I think a centre back is being looked at. I genuinely do, and I think the situation around a certain centre back, I think, is a bit up in the air at the moment. I think Liverpool are watching it closely. I'm going to leave it at that. Lee McKenna says Hansi Flick has said Thiago is leaving. Fair enough.
Thiago is staying. That says.
No. I think he said. Am I reading that wrong?
Comment said staying.
Oh, did he? No, I thought I read one up there saying he said he's leaving. Anyway,
no, he said he doesn't. He said he was asked if that was his last game, and the Bayern manager said jokingly, he told me he's staying, and then he laughed at his own joke and he said, "No, I don't know," and neither does Thiago at the moment.
Okay, LFC Transfer Watch says it's going to happen. Let's get the treble next season and show the world who the best team in the world is. PS, give Brewster playing time and he will be phenomenal. That's just touching on the Brewster stuff from a little bit earlier on. Dylan O'Rourke did say, look, Dylan O'Rourke feels that Liverpool have a couple of deals lined up and ready to go, but they're not going to show their hand too early because, of course, it doesn't make great business sense to be telling people what deals you're going to do when you're trying to get rid of a few at the same time. Grizz, Thiago Alcantara, you've been nailed. You've nailed your colours to this mast for a long time, and it's for me. I've never seen you, I suppose, as adamant on a player in a long time. But and I'll probably make fucking a fool of myself here by asking this, and you've changed your mind, but I don't think you have. But Thiago Alcantara, Grizz, yay or nay for you?
Yeah, it's a simple yay for me. But until he signs on the dotted line, we know what the situation's like. He definitely wants to leave Bayern. The Bayern manager today coming out with, look, he's unsure. Look, as Keith says, that's the emotion side of things. When he sits down and realizes the reasons why he didn't sign the contract in the first place, the contract extension at Bayern in the first place, he'll probably calm down and realize, look, he still wants to make the move away from Bayern, and he 100% wants Liverpool. We 100% want him. I think it's time to stop all this. It's getting quite boring and repetitive now, isn't it? We just want it sorted one way or the other, and I think it'll be sorted in our favour, hopefully.
Okay. I think if it's going to be sorted in their favour, I think it'll be something that happens quite quickly. If it drags on,
for sure,
you could get other clubs involved then.
Yeah. Both clubs won't want it dragged out. They love him too much. They respect his wishes too much. Bayern are a classy club when it comes to things like this. And Thiago won't want to mess about. He's, as I've told you guys before, he's cancelled his holidays to make sure this is resolved before he gets a little break. So I think something 100% will move this week.
There's a message on the screen there, and I'm going to get Keith to pronounce this person's name. It's Mussolini that says it, but he says, when we're playing Salzburg, keep an eye on that. Keith, what's his name?
Dominic Szoboszlai.
There you go. No idea how it's pronounced, but that is a great young talent. Somebody else asked who was the centre-back you're referring to. Ben White is the centre-half I'm referring to, because I have convinced myself in no galaxy that we live in, the Liverpool can't sign Ben White, Thiago and a striker and come out with about 40 million net spend over the summer. It's just impossible not to achieve that. So Ben White is the player I'm thinking of. I think the fact that he has he's 2 years left in his contract, has he, or one?
Yeah.
He's 2 years left.
He's not extending.
He's not extending, so his value is dropping on Brighton's behalf as this goes on. It could be rising depending on his appearances. I think Leeds have offered and Brighton have rejected. I think Liverpool are keeping a very, very close eye on that. I could be way off the mark, but I think he just fits everything that Liverpool will be looking for in a player. And if they feel he's worth 25 to 30 million pounds, I think in the long run, he could play with you for 10 years. He's absolutely worth it. A bit like Van Dijk signing for Liverpool at 26, and you're you get 7 or 8 years out of him at 75 million, and you're absolutely flying. Kev O'Sullivan says that Lewis Dunk has signed a 5-year deal at Brighton. There you go. This was the Lewis Dunk that was odds on to sign for Chelsea last week, and Brighton were going to build their defence around Ben White. That may change because of that. Paul Hardwick says we're skint. That's probably one of the reasons why he feels Thiago doesn't happen.
But why not?
I don't know how skint we are. Listen.
I think we're careful that we're skint.
I think we're being very, very guarded in what we're doing. And as I said before, the 6th of October will be the last day that we get to judge Liverpool on A, what they've done in the transfer window, and B, it probably gives you a clearer indication of exactly what way the money is going around at the moment. So, listen, I think that's about it. I think we've done... How many likes did we get?
We are on 306 likes out of 611 watching, so it's nearly half. If we get another like, then...
Lads, if everyone just liked there now, we'd be laughing.
Smash that likey.
But look, we done all right. We done okay. Over 300, but our 400 is definitely our target for the next
We'll
one.
get there. We'll get there.
We'll be back on
Thiago's
Tuesday
unveiling on Tuesday. We'll get there.
But we'll be back on Tuesday night with the Transfer Agenda show. I'm not too sure of the lineup of that. I always make sure of that tomorrow. But we will be back at 10 p.m. with your Transfer Agenda show. That, of course, will have all your Liverpool related transfer news, all your Premier League related transfer news, which there seems to be a lot building at the moment. And of course, if anything across Europe catches our eye, we absolutely go for that as well. Grizz, is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
No.
Anything you want to bring up? Anything on your mind?
Nope.
No, you're happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Keith, are you happy with the situation as it stands, or is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we leave?
Yeah, no, it's fluid. The situation is fluid as always. But no, I think the key is the next day or two. And I think if we don't have an announcement on Thiago in the next day or two, or there's not an announcement that he signed a new contract with Bayern, I think we won't be getting him. I think the next few days, the Champions League is over, the dust settles. I think there's movement, or else we'll forget about it. We can rip off the Thiago posters off our wall if it doesn't happen by the Charity Shield, I reckon.
Okay. Ripping posters off walls. Chris, is there anything else you want to bring up before we go?
No, mate, no, I'm good.
Okay, good stuff. Avo has asked about the 3,000 subscribers giveaway. The weather's looking better, Avo. We've checked the weather apps. The weather looks good. I draw the line of standing in a field in the pistons of rain, hitting golf balls into a bucket for the competition. But once it clears up and I'll only need an hour in the evening. I'm that confident. I've measured out the 50 yards on the field across the road. I've picked the wheelie bin of choice. I've picked the club of choice, and I am playing with Titleist Pro V1s, the best golf ball in the world. So we have the perfect mix there. I'm going to try find someone that will just stand in the field with me with their phone and record this, and then if it goes on too long, I'm gonna have to find someone that will edit that video down. We picked 5 finalists. We're not telling you who they are, but we're only going to reveal that on the video along with, and of course that will reveal the winner then. Just a little bit of tension for everybody. But as soon as I get an hour, one evening this week, that will be done. That has been the Fatback 4 podcast.
I don't want to jinx us, Gav, before we go.
Yeah.
We've gone from 3 thumbs downs to 1. So two people have taken
someone
that
around.
thumbs down. 2 of them have.
We've taken that
3.
back.
They've taken them back. Now I could be reminding them, and they might smash them thumbs down again. But it's a positive sign. They've taken 2 back.
Okay. Dylan O'Rourke asks, what club are you hitting? It will be a Titleist Vokey SM7, possibly a 60-degree wedge, possibly a 54 if I want to hit it a bit harder and flatter. But Dylan, we'll discuss it off air. A lot of people won't understand that. But let me see. Let me see. People are talking about Harry Maguire. I don't want to get into it. Is he still in jail?
He's tunneling out. He got a spoon in the canteen, and he's tunneling out ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
brilliant. Is he still in Greece? Yeah, he's still locked up.
No,
he's home.
I think he's been sent home. I think the last I read, Man United's lawyers are dealing with it.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's back. He's back in the UK. All right, cool. I don't know what happened there. I don't really care, but it was amusing all the same. Yeah, that's it. That's been the Fatback 4 podcast. Grizz, thanks a million for joining us. You're an absolute star. Just not paying attention to me now, Grizz. He's frozen. Look, doesn't care.
Just in the cricket highlights.
No, I can hear you now. Sorry, he's cracking up. Sorry, that's all. I didn't want to say too much earlier because you know my Wi-Fi's been giving me issues. So I can hear you now.
Okay, well, thanks a million for joining us, Grizz. I'll say
no
it again.
problem. Pleasure, Gav. Always pleasure.
Good stuff. You are my man. Chris, thanks a million. It's been a pleasure, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me on, mate. Great.
Good stuff. And Keith, I'll talk to you in about 10 minutes because we've loads of stuff to sort out for the rest of the week.
Pleasure as always.
That's how it works. But that has been the Fatback 4 podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you hit the like button. To the 2 people that took their unlikes and took the ball and went home, we appreciate it. And we talk to you soon. Over and out.